I'm Danny Caldwell, and I had the good fortune of playing under Billy Bob when he came to Bruce, Mississippi in 1955. I think was his first year, and I played actually all 4 years that he when he first came there. And I remember the ninth grade, the first year I went out, I was really trying to get a suit on the team. And I was competing against Don Griss. And Don really was a good player, and I really thought he was outplaying me and he was going to get the suit instead of me. But anyway, Billy Bob gave me a suit that year, and I guess he may saw something for the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
He must have, because I actually thought I got outplayed that year. But every year that I played, we went to state every year in one district every year. Actually, Bruce won district 8 years in a row in the A division.
Yeah.
The way we got Billy Bob, I always say this story, Coach Gray. Ellard used to beat everybody in the county, and of course they'd beat Bruce, and we just we kind of told the tale that we had to get their coach to start beating them. So, but I'm sure. You know, they didn't have some of the players that they used to have. I remember Ellard had great teams, and Billy Bob, I think, coached most of them. Bobby McPhail, and the Covington guy, and the Coleman boys, and there's a bunch of them. I don't remember. They were a little older than me, but they had great teams.
Yeah, we interviewed the Colemans, and they talked about Ellard never had but just enough people to make a team.
I don't know, but they had some good players.
I mean, 2 or 3 substitutes in the main team, and Wayne talked about how Billy Bob, that first of the year a lot of players couldn't even hold the ball, couldn't dribble, and at the end of the year they'd be winning, you know. And
right.
Yeah, I remember you and your mom, and I guess it was your aunt. Y'all used to, when you were
Y'all Kelly's sisters.
Little tot, y'all would fall in much.
My favorite teams then was Ellard boys and Durham girls, and I'd always watch them. Seemed like they'd win the tournaments almost every year.
Yeah.
But they had good teams. There's a lot of good teams in the county. I remember one year Billy Bob had us playing a man-to-man. I mean, switching man-to-man. I mean, back then, you know, usually it's either a zone or a man-to-man, and we were playing Calhoun City in the county tournament at Big Creek, and I think it was the last county tournament game for a long, you know, they quit that for a while, but they started back a tri-county tournament later. But we had beaten Calhoun City 3 or 4 times that year already, and pretty easy. And Billy Bob told us this, now y'all get on a man-to-man. So we got on a man-to-man. He didn't say switching man-to-man, and they were screening us, and anyway, they ended up beating us at the game.
Yeah.
And everybody wasn't switching, you know, because we called it switching man-to-man.
Yeah.
And that's what beat us.
I wanted to ask you about Cotton Norwood. He, nobody's mentioned him, and I noticed he's in some of your books.
Well, he's my first cousin.
Yeah, I knew that Norwoods and I were first cousins,
Yeah.
but I went to Memphis and right out of high school and worked for Sears for a while. But me and Cotton, we got to be pretty good buddies. We'd ride the same bus over there every day to Crosstown, and I don't know, Cotton evidently might have been a little older than me because he kind of took care of me.
He was older than you because he was a senior when I was in 9th grade. And tell you a story on Cotton, because you know he went into the service, the Navy.
Yeah. And
he was had great basketball instincts. I mean, he was good.
Yeah.
But he was real small in high school. But he went into service, and when he got out the first time from the Navy, actually I was playing at Ole Miss as a freshman then. And we'd play in Itawamba, and Coach Davis up there, and you know the Davis Center at Itawamba was named after him. He later, Bud and Buster Davis, both of them coached over there. But he tried to get me to leave Ole Miss to come over there to, you know, play over there and then go back to Ole Miss. And I said, no, I can't do that. I can't give up my scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, but I got a first cousin getting out of the Navy. I said, now he can play.
Mm-hmm.
So we arranged, he said, okay. So we arranged a tryout for Cotton, Donald, and me. And anyway, we arranged a tryout. He kept a couple of his players over there, and they had some good players. They were good.
Yeah.
And Donald and I went over there and played against them. And of course, I was trying to set him up the best I could.
Yeah.
And he was shooting, he hit everything he shot. I've never
Yeah.
seen him play that good.
Yeah.
And after that workout, Coach Davis said, "You got a scholarship, come on."
Yeah.
So, but then he decided to go back in the Navy, and he never went.
Wow.
But he had a scholarship.
Let's see. I'm trying to get him Cotton and then Donald.
Don Countess
Oh,
played
yeah.
that year.
Yeah.
Did he interview earlier?
Oh,
Don
yeah.
Countess?
Yeah, Don did. Yeah, he did.
Billy Williford played.
Yeah.
Of course, he's been gone.
Yeah, well, tell me about your years at Ole Miss. I used to come out there and watch you at Ole Miss there.
Well,
and my brother, Bobby McPhail, he thought you were the best player that ever hit the court. He said, "Boy, he is so smooth and cool. He never gets upset." And I think, now you tell me if this is not right, I think you chewed gum while you were playing.
I might have. Sometime I was bad to bite my tongue. Because I'd have my tongue
I remember thinking, well,
stuck
God,
out.
man, I got so out of breath running up and down the court, and I was thinking, that guy there can chew gum and play. I'd choke, you know.
I might have chewed gum some, but
Yeah.
I bit my tongue several times because I, like on a layup and get hit by an elbow or something.
Yeah, I remember,
My tongue would be sticking out.
I don't know what year he played, but I think he might have played at Ellard some too. That played some at Ole Miss was Waylon Dean Inman.
Oh, Waylon was a great player at Ole Miss.
Yeah. He
played a lot more at Ole Miss than I played. He, and he played at Ellard most of the time, and then he played his senior year, I think, at Bruce, or last year or two.
Yeah.
At Bruce. And
well, he died a few years ago.
Yeah, Ellard, Waylon had been gone, but he held the consecutive free throws at Ole Miss for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still owes it or not, but
yeah.
But he held it for years and years. He was a good player.
Well, what about Cotton? Where is he now? Is he?
Cotton passed away this past year.
Well, he had a little sister, Jeannie.
Jeannie, and he
Yeah,
had
she was my little sweetheart when we were real little.
Jeannie was a good player. She played at Bruce. All the Kelly people were pretty good players.
Yeah.
Carol, his older sister, played basketball there, and his younger brother, Kelly Norwood, he's passed away. So I remember three of the boys are gone, but Kelly was a good player, but he was real small in high school. And then he played under Billy Bob when he was in the 9th grade, and then he was a lot younger. And then Billy Bob Coach Gray became superintendent of education, and so he didn't play under him his whole time. But he went into the service too, and then when he came back, he had already gotten 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", and he played ball at Northwest Junior College, community college. So he was a good college player.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we graduated too young. I ran into Peter McCormick a while back, and he's taller than me, and he was one of the smallest people that graduated from Ellard. So maybe we'd help back a year or two.
I just thought back about that same statement. If I'd have just held back 1 year, I think I could have been really good, in high school anyway. But that's that's beside the fact. But I want to tell you this one story. I think I told you earlier. It's when I was in the 10th grade, and we had a good team. We had people like Ed Easley and Robert Bracken and Jerry Bryant and Eugene Hollis and myself and Lawrence King and Jimmy Easley, and anyway, we had a real good team. And Walnut had won state the year before, and Billy Bob scheduled a game some way, or somebody scheduled asked him to play Walnut, and we had a game set up and played them at New Albany, and Billy Bob was real nervous that game. We didn't have any better sense not to be, I guess.
Yeah.
We went up and we started off, and they were fast breaking us, and I think they had us 8 or 10 to nothing. And Billy Bob did call timeout, and we all went over there, and he was afraid we was going to get beat 50 points, I know. But he was so nervous. This is the only time I've ever seen him like this. He couldn't hardly say anything. I mean, he was just out of it. But anyway, Jerry and I, we figured out, say, hey, all they're doing is hitting this little outlet pass, and all we got to do is cut that off, and we'll stop this fast break. And all they were getting were layups. And we intercepted 3 or 4 on the outlet pass and got back in the game. And then Billy Bob got okay. Then he realized we could play with him, and we ended up winning that game. But he was real nervous that game. I never will forget that.
Yeah, well.
I'd tell you this about Coach Gray. I've never seen him in all the years I played with him, you know, really treat anybody bad. He was a good-hearted person, and
Yeah.
he was a good guy to play for.
Did you take any classes under him?
Yes, I sure did. I tell you a few things about that. I remember he was a great math teacher, as you know. And in high school, I thought I was pretty good in math, but I found out later I wasn't a math genius like I thought I was. But anyway, he was giving out a test one year, and he was giving out the test, and he had alternated the test, you know, so that one row had one test, or they were mixed up in the next row, so we couldn't copy.
Yeah.
And he gave out the test, and Wade Ball, we used to be known as Wade Leach, he looked up at Coach Gray after he gave him out. He said, Coach Gray said, alphas and our tests are not the same. Coach Gray, he didn't say nothing. He just laughed like everything. And then everybody realized what he had done. Well, that was, you know, he never got on him.
Well, boy, I tell you, I never did get to play on the Billy Bob. Now you've told me why that I didn't, and it kind of pisses me off, even though that y'all stole him away from him.
We really did, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you probably did.
Bruce was bad about that, because I tell you this story on Don Callis's wife, Jackie Blackwell. She played at Pittsburgh in the 10th grade. They played she was real good. I mean, she was probably.
I remember Jackie being
one of the best ball players in
I was wondering why someone hadn't mentioned Jackie.
Anyway, tell you a story how we got Jackie, kind of like we got Billy Bob. She was playing at Pittsburgh, and they had a tournament at Ellard. In fact, I was watching those games. I wasn't playing, but I was watching them. And Pittsburgh girls they won 3 games and went to the finals. I think they got beat in the finals. I don't know who it was that beat them, but the whole team of Pittsburgh had 112 points for all 3 games. She had 109 of them. I mean, she was that good. And the next year, her daddy was working as custodian at Bruce, and we had Jackie on our team the next year at Bruce.
Yep.
But she was really a good player.
Yeah.
She really was.
Yeah. We had some of those girls from Bruce to interview, and of course Lawrence King's wife.
Yeah,
she
Myra.
was a big champion.
She was a great player too.
We got her on tape and some more, and so anyway, Danny, I'd like to mention we're neighbors up here, so
yeah,
we go out and shoot some baskets sometime.
Well,
I don't think I could do it though.
I know I can't.
I can't in my mind.
Well,
but
if they'd lower the goal to about 8 or 9 feet, I could. But now the goal looks like it's 12 feet tall.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
The arthritis in my arms couldn't quite get it up there.
I know. I got out there in the park, and I was going to shoot some. I wouldn't even get it halfway there. I said, "What's happened to this?"
Yeah.
You know.
Tell you a couple more things. I was fortunate enough to be on some good teams with some good players at Bruce, and I know Ellard had some great players too. At Bruce, you know, we did go to state every year. And my sophomore year, you know, we went to we won the first game, lost the second, but won the consolation. So we won third in that state. But the next year, we actually ended up winning second in state, and that was probably, you know, our best year of the years I played. Is, you know, as how far we advanced, but. We didn't win. We didn't lose but about 3 games that year. But what happened that afternoon? You know, we played at state tournament. We won the first game on a Thursday night, I think, or Friday. And back then they played on Saturday afternoon, and they turned around and played the finals at Saturday night.
Yep.
Where Friday afternoon, I think we played Forest the second game. Well, you know, that did give you about 2 hours to rest. Well, Forest Hill had beat Columbus that afternoon in the first game, and they had a big stud, Edmund Gary. I mean, he had a scholarship everywhere. And I know he had one at Ole Miss and State and everywhere else that was offered to him. And he was great in different sports.
Yeah.
But he was very well known as one of the best players in the state in basketball. Well, they won pretty easy and sat on the bench most of the half. We played Forest that afternoon. I think we beat them 95-93, and you know, we just ran the whole game.
Somebody told me you had the last shot or something.
I might have. I don't know, but had a good game that game. And,
yeah.
But Alfred had a good game that game, and everybody did. We had to beat them. Usually that team, you didn't know who was going to be the high scorer because, you know, Goose Morris might have been one game. Eugene Hollis was a high scorer of several games because he was really a great shooter. Lawrence would have been a high scorer, Alfred or myself. You know, that's what made us so good. We were very balanced. But anyway, that afternoon we were so give out. We ended up. I think if we'd have played a Monday, we might have won state that year. But we didn't. We turned around. They ended up beating us 9 points, I think. But I remember Coach Gray came in to tell you some of his philosophy. I didn't know what he was doing at the time. But he came into the hotel that afternoon and he says, well, I'll tell you, we may get beat, but Edmund Gary, who's got big player for him, he's not going to beat us. The center, this guy's named Shirley, he was a good player too. Yeah. He's going to be the one that beats us if we get beat. Well, he got 34 points that night. Wow. And they did end up beating us. Yeah. But I guess Coach Gray double teamed Gary. I don't really know what he did, but we stopped him.
The teams that won would be the ones that didn't necessarily have a hot shot shooter or anything. It'd be a balanced teams that would score kind of 10 or 15 points each. Everybody did their
we were balanced that year. That's what made us as good as we were, I think. But we did have a good high school team for that era.
You reminded me of something here. This probably won't end up in the film, but I want to talk about it in a second. I've been acting for a number of years, and I went on this tour with a bunch of little high schoolers that would go from Potts Camp, all the different schools, and put on these little shows, musical shows. And most of them had never seen plays and all, but we went to Coffeyville. And Danny, we went in there and performed in the gymnasium. All the windows broke out. Holes in the floor and wall. It was the same gymnasium that y'all all played in, and that school, nothing. All of them are going to either private schools